Evening, I'd like to call the November 20th, 2014 regular meeting of the North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission to order at 7:06 p.m. In attendance tonight is alternate member Holgren, regular member Sienna, Leskovich, Dunn, and I'm acting chair Gildenzi. The first item on the agenda under old business is P&Z application 2014-15-6. It's concerning the site plan development, installation of propane bulk storage facility, office building, garage, and associated driveways, parking, lighting, utilities, stormwater management, landscaping, and sign at 40 Cira Road, map 27, lot 39-3, I2 zone. Owner Don Fushi, applicant agent 2772 BPR LLC attorney Jeff Beatty. So this item has been continued indefinitely until the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection reviews the application and provides the North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission with a report. So that will be continued indefinitely until we hear back from the DEP. So the next item under old business, under B, is Planning and Zoning Application 2014-15-5. It's a proposed amendment to Section 54, Alcoholic Beverages of the North Branford Zoning Ordinance, to modify the text of Section 54.2, Measurement, and 54.3, Discontinuance, 54.4 location, and 54.5 relocation. And it's applicant Cohen and Antipora. Yeah, so the microphone tonight, that microphone doesn't project. It's only for the purposes of the Totucket TV, which please speak into it because we want to record your comments, but it won't project to the crowd.
Okay. This evening I'm here after working with the planner sometime, and I have submitted for your review.
Yeah, maybe you can do both then. Oh, just make sure you also get that because we're trying to record it for Totucket TV. Thank you.
These are amendments. My name is Felipe Pastor. I'm at Cohen and Acapora. My name is Felipe Pastor, and I'm at Cohen and Acapora. I've been working with the town planner and to a lesser extent with the town engineer with regard to some amendments to Section 54. I have submitted tonight a document that is substantially simpler and more straightforward than previous versions of this, which is, I would say, has benefited from the number of times that I've appeared before this commission. Let me also say that some weeks ago, to allay any concerns about the impact of this change on town property, specifically someone had a concern about the church on the hill in Northford being subjected to something just across the street from them. The planner and I spent some hours using the town's GIS system, and we actually plotted all of the zones where these uses could possibly be, and we measured with distances. It seems that the magic number of distance is 400 feet. So I'll speak specifically to section 54.4. I originally, you probably recall the last time I came here, there was a 500-foot separation distance, but if there was a state highway separating the parcel from the church, there was going to be no distance. That didn't go over very large because there was a number of concerns. We found that in that instance, where there is a state highway separating the church from a possible development parcel that's zoned correctly, the number is 400 feet to protect the church. So we've come to that conclusion that as far as 54.4.1, if you're using the state highway as a, I'll call it as a barrier to a parcel, 400 feet will still protect all the churches in town. We've plotted all those.
Why 400 feet and not 500? You know, the 100 feet. You
Well,
know,
the
but-
problem, as to my renovations of this ordinance, it's not important to me. But from what I understand, the town has a serious problem. And in order to correct some problems, that could be a solution.
500 feet violated?
I believe that 500 feet does not work.
What was that question?
Does 500 feet
No,
violate it?
But
You know, I did some calculations on my own, and of all the churches in,
yeah,
you know, I looked into this myself, and of all the churches in Norford and North Branford, St. Augustine is the only one on a side street. Every church is on a state highway, every. So, you know, that was my concern, that, you know, the state highway should never be a barrier, you know, to get rid of the, you know, the footage. 400 feet, 500 feet, that's okay too.
As I said, we use the GIS system to measure this. I will defer to the town planner to explain exactly how that was. I'm suggesting the number is 400 feet. This is
Okay.
the commission that's going to determine that at the public hearing. But I'm suggesting that you have something that could benefit from this change. It's not my issue. I'm here to suggest some general changes. As to section 54.1, I've cleaned up the changes there. We've separated out consumption on-site from consumption off-site. There is going to be a text change in the table that is attached to the zoning ordinance. There is a draft of that available that sets out where the uses are allowed by special use permit and when you would need a variance. The measurement of section 54.2. There were a number of formulas that originally were proposed. We discussed them, and this is what the final cleaned up version is. As to the distances from the actual retail space utilized by the liquor outlet, we're going to measure the front door to the front door. Where it relates to a park or a town-owned playground, it's going to be the nearest boundary. So that just cleans up the measurement formula. It's a boundary, it's a door to boundary or door to door. 54.3 is discontinuance. The only thing that I've changed in there was to clarify that they were a valid existing permit holder at the time. That was not clear in the original 54.3. From the history that I read that was supplied from the town planner, it seemed that that was the intent of the regulation, and so I inserted it there. With regard to 54.4, this was the section that we spoke about with the state highway. I will leave that to the commission's discretion, but I suggest 400 feet. 54.4.2, the only thing that I did was capitalize the term. There's no change there. There was something lacking that I added to 54.4.3 and 54.5. In town, there are a number of large commercial shopping centers. It seemed that from a planning standpoint, you would want to keep retail establishments concentrated in those areas, and you want to prevent creep into other areas. It's a good planning theory. So where you have in town 14,000 gross square feet of a shopping center, the distance requirements and separation requirements do not apply. So that means there could be, under your current regulations, for example, a pizza parlor with a beer and wine license and a Chinese restaurant with a full liquor license couldn't be in the same plaza. So this sort of takes care of that. You're allowed to concentrate businesses where the town wants to concentrate them, where people are going to be going, they're going to be driving to and having a choice of places to go to. The last thing is section 54.5 with regard to relocation. There are a number of liquor outlets in town that, for any number of reasons, might want to be relocated to a different location in town. This allows a relocation within 1,500 feet of the radius of the front door of the old location to the new location. So what that means is if someone has been in town and they have a client base, and for some reason they need to go to a smaller space, a bigger space, a better space, a space that they just bought, that's possible within a 1,500-foot radius. So those are my suggested amendments to this. I've been before, I believe this is the 4th time that I've been here. I'll take any questions and
That last one, 50, I'm just really curious, 54.5, 1,500 feet. Is that other towns have a similar number? What's the relevance of that?
Can we pass the mic so we can hear?
Hold on. Sorry.
Yeah,
The question was on the last point about 54.4, and I was asking if where the 1,500-foot distance came. Was it from other town regulations that we looked at, or what's the relevance? It's really just curiosity. Where does 1,500 feet come from?
In liquor regulations, many of the distances and many of the set-offs are 1,500 feet. For example, in your own regulation 54.4.2, you have a 1,500-foot separation rule. So 1,500 feet is sort of, I'm not going to say that it's a standard, but when you look through regulations that have to do with alcoholic beverage consumption, 1,500 feet is a number that you see a lot. 1,500 feet seems to be a reasonable distance to relocate your business in. Normally, if you have a business like that, you're not going to move across town. These businesses are businesses of convenience. You're passing through. You're not going to pass to the other side of town. So, you know.
okay, thank you.
Yes. Sure, you can have discussion, and then definitely we need to set a public hearing date.
So, Commission, do we have any, Ron, do we have anything we want to discuss? Because at some point we need to set a date for a public hearing for this.
I got a
This
question.
amendment. Yep.
The 1,500 square foot minimum
15-foot
distance.
radius.
Radius.
Yeah.
But in North Branford, you have Bella Lisa, which sells beer, and you have Dalton's, which sells beer. And they're a lot closer than 1,500 feet.
This regulation would help that.
So is that what the key is, to have more restaurants closer together? Because it's not, because as established in the prior meeting, it's not liquor stores, it's more of a restaurant. This is geared towards.
You have a problem in town related to a package store, which
Yes.
this helps.
Are we allowed to ask questions? Because we don't even know what this is for.
So,
Can't even hear you back here.
yeah,
If there's a public hearing, there's information now.
So this is just a discussion with the commission at a regular meeting. We are setting the public hearing date for this tonight. So you'll hear what date that is. We're gonna schedule that tonight. This is not a public hearing. This is just a regular meeting. We're just having a general discussion now. And then when we're done with the discussion, we're going to set a date for the public hearing to hear this regulation change.
so, any other discussion?
Well, you asked where is it located? Well, basically, this is the rules for where you locate liquor outlets.
So the question just came up, just so everyone's clear. We're going to set a public hearing date. There is no specific location for this. This is a regulation change that will apply to all establishments that are covered under this. There's no specific, he's not representing any specific person or a specific location. So we're going to set a public hearing date, and then you're more than welcome to attend that.
So, Any other?
Bill, just one clarification that I want to make is when the application was submitted. And I just wanted to talk, that information. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So just, I spoke with Felipe before this meeting, and just thinking about timelines and when applications are submitted and how long the commission has to act on any application. So the original application was received as of October 2nd. So 65 days from that date is December 6th. Felipe and I, as he mentioned, have been working on this to amend it. An amended application was submitted and received as of today, November 20th. Although in looking at it, I think the cleanest way is for Felipe to hopefully grant the commission an extension, because the original application was stamped in, and that's when the fee was paid, as of October 2nd. So the 65-day would be up on December 6th. So the commission can grant up to 65 days of an extension period. I would maybe recommend starting with 30 and scheduling the public hearing for the next scheduled meeting, which is after the holidays. But instead of setting a special meeting in the middle of the holidays, having the public hearing on January 8th, which is the first meeting in 2015, and having the public hearing at that time. That gives us the required 30 days of notification. We will have 2 public notices published in the paper, as well as a decision for the commission to actually set that public hearing date. So there'll be a total of 3 notices in the newspaper. And then we also have to notify the regional planning agency, and they will notify adjacent communities.
So the 30-day extension will get us to January 8th?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Commission? That seems
Yeah.
reasonable?
Do we need to make a motion? Condition of that.
Right. So conditioned on Felipe submitting a request in writing for an extension, which we can take in at the next meeting on December 6th.
So we'll
Does that
set
make
a
sense?
date of January 5th, conditioned on you submitting...
January 8th.
January 8th, sorry, January 8th. Conditioned on you submitting a request for an extension to us, requesting an extension of 30 days.
Could I say this again? I just want to say about the liquor store permits that are in town. The liquor store permits in town, because I heard this from the audience, so I might as well clear it up now. Liquor store permits for this town, you have over permitting. There's one too many permits in this town. So in order for someone to actually obtain a new liquor store in town, you would have to have 5,000 people move into town. That level of growth, at least as the way this town is growing now, I believe that would be about 14 or 15 years worth of consistent growth. So this is not about opening the doors to a lot of things that perhaps you don't want. Okay?
That is a state permitting system as well. State permitting, not a town permit.
That's right. It's based on census.
Thank you. Okay, so we will set a public hearing date of January 8th, condition on Felipe submitting a request for an extension of 30 days.
Sorry, one suggestion to the commission. Do we want to, sure. So suggestion to the commission, thinking about this regulation and who it affects. Again, as Felipe mentioned, this regulation change would separate out consumption on-site from consumption off-site. So it would really affect the consumption off-site, so the package stores, liquor stores. As the commission, do we want to reach out to the existing package stores? There are 7. And let them know the date of the public hearing as a courtesy.
Commission?
Yes.
Just a quick poll. Yes, no? Sure. David?
It only impacts package stores?
7 package stores.
it impacts restaurants too. Sure.
It impacts restaurants, so under the current regulations, restaurants need a special use permit, regardless of if they are serving alcohol or not. So it
And they need liquor license.
frees up, actually, consumption on-site. They will still need a special use permit under the new regulations. They will just not be prohibited from existing, they won't be restricted by the 1,500-foot rule or the 500-foot rule of being located near a church, a school, playground, et cetera.
So it's more likely to impact a restaurant than it is a liquor store.
The regulation, the way it's written, it basically, it no longer would regulate on-site consumption. So basically, you could have two restaurants side by side with the same class liquor permit. That would be allowable now. Currently, at the current regulations, they're prohibited, there's a separation rule, a 1,500-foot rule. It really opens up for economic development, I think.
Right, no, but I'm just trying to understand why you would contact liquor stores and not the restaurants.
Because it doesn't, it actually frees up on-site consumption. It doesn't, that regulation goes
It
away.
makes it more competitive for additional restaurants to open, right? It's what it's-
I guess from that point of view.
Yeah, so I would, if you're gonna, I would send out things to all the restaurants and all liquor stores. Cover everybody, cover your base.
It's probably impractical.
Well, I mean, that's
notify every
that's a
restaurant.
much bigger number,
So-
and we don't know every permit. I mean, we had talked about it internally,
Restaurants we have
because
in town.
the bigger impact, at least what we felt.
Can't be
the
more
bigger
than a dozen,
impact
right?
is Liquor stores.
A dozen restaurants and liquor stores?
And the current regulation covers liquor outlets, which includes package stores and restaurants, that's correct.
That's all liquor.
But my understanding of this change is to allow restaurants closer together. Not liquor stores, it's not addressing liquor stores at all. So why would you want to contact liquor stores and not the restaurants? We have probably as many restaurants as we have liquor stores. So if you're gonna contact liquor stores, contact the restaurant, anybody who sells alcohol in town, you have a list of, right? Anybody with liquor license should be contacted. If you wanna contact one, don't segregate one from another.
Right, I guess the thinking behind, as Kurt said, of contacting the liquor outlets as they are being proposed to be defined for consumption off-site, we were looking at that group and not singling out anyone within that group, but just looking at the consumption off-site, because these are the regulations, as Kurt said, it's more restrictive. The restaurants are being freed up because we're pulling out the consumption on-site. But it's up to the commission. You know, we can look up and contact the state. I'm happy to see who has a liquor permit in town, and we can reach out to anyone who sells liquor and just let them know about the public hearing, date and location. And I'm talking, just to clarify, about above and beyond the required public notice, and then ideally putting something on the website.
Pass the mic down.
Sorry, not that.
Commission.
Pass the mic down. I guess my question is, where do we draw the line? Because if we notify all the package stores and all the restaurants that serve liquor, how about the restaurants that are close to other restaurants that serve liquor and they're not allowed to serve liquor? We're not notifying them. And then there's also delis that might want to sell beer. I mean, it's, where do we draw the line?
They have to get a liquor
No,
permit to do
delis
it
are
anyhow,
different, it's a liquor permit.
and a special use permit.
All right, all valid points. I mean, as Carrie mentioned, we're gonna do the standard notification, so. As Carrie mentioned, we're gonna do the standard notification, so what's before us now, do we want to do anything above and beyond that?
Why don't we, has it been, just send one to anybody who has a liquor permit in town? If they have a restaurant or for consumption on premises, it's not regulated, so they're gonna read the first part of this thing and say it doesn't apply to me, because it doesn't apply to restaurants. So let's send them, everybody with a permit, a notice and a copy of the proposed regulations.
Could I? Could I just suggest that whatever decision the commission makes is vetted by town council before something is done? Because notice is prescribed by the general statutes and your town ordinances perhaps, and anything inconsistent with that could cause me a problem, so I just want to err on the side of caution.
I think there's been some public debate that, notification that P&Z is independent of the council.
I think he means attorney. I think you mean town attorney.
He said council, so I'm just saying.
Town attorney, town
Okay.
council, yes. Council.
Right.
Council, not
So
Right.
there's rules and regulations regulating how we have to notify. So his point is, if we're going to do something differently, we should
No, no.
vet that through the
He said-
attorney, which I think is a smart.
He said town council.
I know,
And
I
we're-
think
We're
his-
talking town attorney.
Yes.
Yes.
I would-
Semantics.
I would use town council,
So-
but I guess the governing body is the town council,
Right.
so I take it back.
I think that's a valid point, and
Just wanted to clarify.
point well
Yes.
taken. I suggest we do exactly that.
Town
We're going to do the standard notifications that are required per the regulations and our regulations, and we will check with the town attorney if we're going to do anything above and beyond that to make sure it's wise and that we can even do it.
And I will report back at the next meeting, December 6th.
And Carrie will report back to us. Good?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
December
Thank you.
3rd.
All right, next
So,
item. Yep, go ahead.
just,
Sorry,
can you
Steve.
just repeat the date of the public hearing, January 8th, and we'll have it here.
Yeah, that's the same here.
That's what I'll plan to reserve this.
Okay, so just restating, so we'll be having this public hearing on January 8th.
Did you guys vote on that?
Oh, yeah, do we need to vote on this change?
Having a public hearing.
Public
just-
hearing. Make a motion.
I move we hold the public hearing on application 2014-15-5, dealing with alcoholic beverages until January 8th, 2015.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Fran seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We just voted to hold the public hearing on this change in regulation that you just heard to January 8th, 2015 in this middle school, in this location. So January 8th, 2015. Okay, next order of business under new business. It's P&Z application 2014-15-8. It's a proposed amendment to zoning regulations regarding self-storage. The proposed amendment entails the addition of line 13.2, self-storage facilities, and 13.3, self-storage facilities with outside storage, to Schedule A in Section 24. The proposed amendment also includes the addition of Section 41.3.6 and 42.5.13 to the regulations, which detail the standards and provisions for these two new line items. Line item uses. The applicant is Bob Priscola.
So Bob is.
So the applicant is not here. I have been in conversation with him. It was his expectation that tonight the commission would vote to hold a public hearing on this item. You'll remember several meetings ago, Bob was here. He submitted proposed regulation changes regarding self-storage units, allowing them in the I-2 zone. And so, again, just looking for the commission to take a vote to set the public hearing date. Again, I recommend having the public hearing on January 8th.
Any discussion on that? Okay, do I have a motion?
Or should we have the public hearing January 8th?
Just read the,
Second.
Okay. second by Charlie. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion to have the public hearing on the zoning regulation for self-storage.
So,
We'll be having that public hearing on January 8th, 2015, in this middle school.
where's the property for the storage? The proposed location there is no specific location, it's a proposed change to the regulations. The regulations would allow for self-storage units in I-2 and I-3 zones. And I have copies of these proposed regulation changes in the planning department, which is with building and engineering, if anyone's interested in seeing them.
Okay, next item under new business, B is P&Z application 2009-10-9. It's an applicant, the applicant is requesting an extension of 10 years on the site development plan that was approved on January 7th, 2010.
So this application was approved by Planning and Zoning on January 7th in 2010. The application is good for 5 years, and it was actually my error. The maximum amount of time that the applicant could receive is an additional 9 years, so for a total of 14 years from 2010. So I believe I included in the commissioner's packets a description of what the original approval was for. Just as a refresher, it is again located at 87 Ciro Road. It is titled Walt Auto Repair. And it was approval of a site plan. And that was again back in January of 2010. So the commission could grant, typically I guess it's done in 5-year increments, up to 9 years.
So,
Yeah, just my 2 cents. I wouldn't give them a whole 10 years. It's
Yeah.
certainly, I mean, it's been a long time. I'd go with another 4 or 5 years, one or the other, to try to keep the project on track and get it reported back to you. Because if something doesn't happen, it keeps dialogue going.
yep, we can always extend. The original site plans are.
Originally 5 years.
5 years, so
Right.
2010 would have been 2015.
Right.
So we're in 2014,
It's expiring this coming January.
January, yep.
That's it.
Yeah, so either 4 or 5 years, whatever you're comfortable with, and then they can come back and if something doesn't happen by then.
Okay.
What have they done in the 5 years they've had there? They've done anything? I don't know where this 87 Cyril Road is, because Walt's Auto Body is down on Route 80, on the line.
Mayor, Bill, can we get the
I
mic?
can tell. Oh, yeah.
There's a storage lot behind the mobile station, is that the lot?
No, it's the end of Cyril Road, all the way down to the end of the cul-de-sac.
Past the,
Basically, what they've done is they brought fill in on site, because they had to fill, there's a fill that has to go in the area. They have approval for, I think, an initial building on there, and then they have the future phases that they presented to the commission. So they basically brought material in at this point. They worked it when the Route 80 project came through. I think Carol granted them, they were allowed to do that as part of the approval process. But they haven't come in to get their building permit yet. So that's what they're trying to keep. They're trying to keep that open at this
just
point.
extending their permit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Any discussion from the commission?
Pretty straightforward.
So we can, 4 or 5? It expires January.
Make 5 years.
You go with 5.
5, I hear 5. Any discussion further on that? Okay, want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to extend the, let me find out the term of the
Site plan.
site plan approval for 5 years for P&Z application 2009-10-9 for Old Maple LLC on 87 Ciro Road, North Branford.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Leskovich seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Next order of business is under number 6, under other business. It's 6A is correspondence. What we'd like to do is just to read in all the correspondence we've received on the propane application. And I'm going to just read from a letter Carrie has given me that will acknowledge the folks that have sent in correspondence to the town and to Gary, our chairman. So I will start with the acknowledging the folks that were included in the packet that was distributed to our commission on November 6th, our last meeting, November 6, 2014. And if I mispronounce your names, I apologize in advance.
Generally, just summarizing.
Say what? Oh, the
Yeah.
The correspondence from the following people has been received regarding the 40 Ciro Road proposal expressing opposition. And the first group of names, again, I'll read, are the ones that were submitted to our commission on November 6, 2014, the last meeting we had. So first was Neil and Sharon McMillan at 80 Fowler Road and 1784 Foxen Road, dated April 15th and October 31st, 2014. Next was Krista Supernaton. Next, Alfred Kovalik, 3 Wilderness Drive, dated October 27, 2014. Next, Aaron Supernant, dated October 21st, 2014. Next, Annette Scatino, received October 30th, 2014. Next was Brennan Lynch at 45 Sea Hill Road, dated October 27, 2014. Next, Liz and Tom Anastasia at 395 Sea Hill Road, dated November 1st, 2014. Next, Joan and Richard Ayer at 10 Sunset Road, West, and received November 4th, 2014. Next, Carol Perry at 30 Hunter Hill Road, dated November 2nd, 2014. Next was Bernice and Robert Dellert at 39 Butternut Road, dated November 1st, 2014. Next, Theodis and Kimberly Karbowski at 24 Norwell Drive, received November 4th, 2014. Next was Suzanne Morello, received November 6th, 2014. Next was an email from George and Ann Tricarton at 246 Sea Hill Road, received November 3rd, 2014. The next group were correspondence that were received and included in tonight's package that we received. First was an email from Deborah and Jason Colbert, 25 Driftwood Lane, received November 6, 2014. Next was a handwritten letter from Krisan Khan Vogt at 240 Forest Road, dated November 18, 2014. And then the next group were letters that were sent and received by our chairman, Harry Dulac. First was Wendy Herbert at 281 Notch Hill Road, dated November 3rd, 2014. Next, Rosemary Miller of 88 Notch Hill Road, dated October 31st, 2014. Next was Joanne Riley at 56 Squire Drive, dated October 22nd, 2014. Next, Kathy and Henry, this is going to be hard, sorry, Zekin, 54 Glenwood Road, dated October 24th, 2014. Next, Michelle Martin at 18 Oxbow Lane, dated October 24th, 2014. Next, Julius Del Guidis at 25 Church Street, received October 23rd, 2014. And last was Ron and Denise Brouillard at 36 Square Drive, received October 22nd, 2014. We just wanted to read those in and acknowledge that we received those correspondence. So next item is review and approve the meeting schedule for 2015. Commissioners, we have the schedule in your packages. It's pretty straightforward. We meet on the first and third Thursdays of each month, with the exception of July, where we had just one meeting.
So you'll notice that there were two different proposed meeting schedules. So forgive me, I don't know the history of the commission, but it seemed that there were two meetings scheduled a month. And looking at the records, it looked like occasionally the second meeting was canceled quite frequently due to a lack of business. So we proposed a second meeting schedule which just has one meeting a month. I believe it's the first Thursday of the month. So there is still the opportunity to have a meeting later in the month if we would need to have a special meeting. Kurt had mentioned to me that historically the thinking was that the first meeting of the month would be to accept applications, review them, and then the second meeting had been set aside for planning purposes. So I don't know if the commission has strong feelings one way or another. Doesn't matter to me, but I just wanted to kind of propose both and allow the commission to discuss and decide.
They can roll. They don't need to act
Right.
until,
Yeah.
you
So-
have a little time.
Right. There is time to act. This doesn't have to be adopted. We still have one more meeting this year, so you can think about it and then vote at the next meeting.
Yeah, so let's, maybe if you want to make a comment tonight, but then we'll certainly continue the next meeting.
I believe we should keep it for the 2 meetings a month. It's easy enough to cancel a meeting if we have no business, but to drag things from one meeting until the next meeting, it's too long.
I tend to agree that. I think it might make for potentially some very, very long meetings, not that sometimes they're long anyway when we have them twice a month, but, and I agree. But we won't decide tonight, but David, Ron, everyone, let's just go, we'll leave and think about this, and at our December meeting, we'll come back and have some comments either way, and we can have a discussion and decide at our next meeting, December 6th. Fair enough? Okay, thank you.
Meeting minutes, we skipped over it sometime.
Oh, yeah, I skipped the meeting minutes. Oh, yeah, that's my first order. So we have meeting minutes
From October.
from October 16th. You have, I know I've seen them, I usually just try to refresh my memory and everyone, so. So does anyone have any comments to the October 16th meeting minutes?
Okay.
Ron, David? Take your time, I just didn't know if you... Comments?
I move to approve the minutes of the meeting of October 16th.
Have a second.
I'll second it.
Leskovich seconds. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are passed. Unanimous.
Next order of business, number 7 under town planners report.
Anything to report?
No report.
So nothing to report under town planners report. Any other items? Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
No, I have a question.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I just wondered, we had some regulations for cluster housing proposed back. Have we heard any more from the applicant?
No. I conveyed the concerns, but I haven't heard anything of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so the comment was that the town planner Carrie conveyed our concerns to the applicant, but he hadn't heard anything back from them. So
That's all we have. Any questions, comments?
I move we adjourn.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.